Uh, of late, because we have so many options out there, uh, the most common question I get to hear is how do I choose my career? Which is the best career for me? And such questions really bother me a lot because the underlying assumption of this question is that the career is out there and you have to go and find it out on Google or on Naukri.com. Yeah. Of late, thanks to the disruptive nature of internet, which I call it as a new kind of democratization, the whole concept of career has changed now. In fact, it's an outdated phenomenon. Extraordinary people don't have careers anymore, they have a calling. I mean, look at me. Would you call it as a career? Booklet guy, machine making it is a career. I think it's a too small a word to call it as a career. Yeah, it's a calling. It's the inner desire to 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 make a meaningful contribution to my motherland. Yeah, and I have the footprints to make India read before I die. So I'll tell you how I shaped my career, the so-called calling, which is your enterprise is or should be just an extended arm of your character and personality. That will give you the best results for the enterprise. I'll tell you what I did. I learned this from a book called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Carl Newport. I repeat, So Good They Can't Ignore You by, by Carl Newport. Needless to mention, whatever books I mentioned, they are part of booklet, summaries in text and audio. And the author mentions about a guy who was a good painter. He used to paint better than most of his friends, but he was not the best painter like Pablo Picasso. But he had this good skill of painting and drawing. Another skill he possessed was he had a good sense of humor. He made his friends laugh, and we all have one guy or girl in the group, who is usually the showstopper and makes us laugh, and he or she has the knack, to make us laugh. He used to be that guy in the group, yeah, but not a stand-up professional comedian, but a good sense of humor than most of his friends. And he came from a business background, but he was not a business tycoon. But he knew the mechanisms of a business. Three different random skills, yeah, comedy, painting, and business background. Comedy, painting, and business background. And he combined these skills to shape up his career, to come out with his own personalized, customized career path. Yeah. And suddenly, Scott Adams is the world famous business cartoonist. Now, this appealed to me so much, it struck my head so fast and so hard that this is something awesome. He tapped into his multiple passions, combined them in such a way that he is now a rare mix. And instead of joining an existing career or a category, he has created his own category. And unsurprisingly, no will be there in this category because the category itself is so new. Competition will happen, but 10 years down the line, that too only if it's a hit, right? Sachin had to work hard, really hard, to become number one in the existing category called cricket, which is there since ages. But business cartoonist, those cartoons uh, which are part of your Business Standard or Economic Times. R.K. Lakshman used to do it. So Scott Adams was the inventor of this idea, where with a good sense of humor and a small joke on business or politics. So I think this is a very good way of creating your own career. But we don't think about these things. It's not so tough, but it is very, very unconventional to defy the old traditional conventional ways of choosing a career. And then looking back into your childhood inclinations, go back and remember your childhood days. What were the things that you were drawn to, where you were lost in a flow state in that activity, and your mom or your dad had to come and pull you out and insist, beta chalo khana khane chalo, and you just lost into that activity, lost track of time, right? I was a table tennis player, so I really know how it feels when you're in a flow state. And then your parents could help you probably to find your childhood inclinations, or maybe ask your friends that what do you think I'm good at. You might say you are a good speaker or you are a good explainer. You know, one may say you I think you have a good Excel sheet where you have a very good command, whatever it is. But as we grow older, you know, the societal conditions, the situations condition our mind to think in a specific way, and then we think that no, these are not the skills which can turn into a career. And for example, I had a Bengali girlfriend, and we were on a candlelight dinner on a date in a rooftop restaurant, and I was talking something which I recently read about stock market from some recent book. Suddenly she interrupted and said, Amrut, do you know you love to explain stuff? I said, what do you mean by that? She said, she said, I see a twinkle in your eye where you are so eager to share something that you learned recently from whatever source. It could be stock market or it could be anything. You love to explain things in the simplest possible form in your own personal vocabulary, are the exact words she used. And I said, okay, so no big deal. No, उसमें क्या है? But now, a decade later, when I look back, the suggestion which I did not take seriously because I did not consider it as a suggestion, but as just as a compliment. Don't you think I'm exactly doing the same thing through Booklet? I I unknowingly tapped into my uh, my love for explaining things. What do? I read these fat books and explain them to you, right, in the simplest possible form with my personal anecdotes and examples, and people are loving it. In fact, the best compliment I ever got from one of the recent booklet readers was that, Amrut, sometimes you explain better than the author himself. And I got tears of joy that, wow, I mean, due respect to the author, but this, if a reader is considered to have an upper hand over an author, this is something really unusual. So, how I tapped into my multiple passions. Mm, I when I was a child, my mom put into tabla classes, and I really developed a lot of fascination for tabla and Indian classical music. But then, as a child, I got bored of it within 3 years. But until then, I had got some good sense of music and symphony. But then I just left it. Okay. Then suddenly I was drawn to great painters like M.F. Hussain, and I started painting. Won some competition, drawing competitions, and then that excitement faded away after a few years. Then suddenly, PT Usha and Kapil Dev were my icons, and I thought sports is the next calling for me, and I should get a gold medal for India in Olympics in table tennis. And the table tennis bat became my divine instrument to make a contribution to my motherland. And unsurprisingly, I was a very bad table tennis player. Uh, and it did not suit my body. I did not have that reflexes, so it was an utter failure. And just to hide my failure, I started saying that, oh, as a dutiful son, it is my moral duty to fulfill the incomplete dream of my dad to become a chartered accountant. I just tried to take shelter of his dream. He never forced me to become a chartered accountant, but he always wanted to, but maybe because of lack of money or something, he could not pursue his dream. And he just used to share that I wish to see you as a chartered accountant, although he never imposed on me. And so I took it as an advantage to hide my failures and became a CA. Very soon, the two-letter prefix before my name on my cabin desk made me realize that no, I don't want to die with this prefix. Okay, it's so boring. It's so unromantic. And so, and how could I miss that? In fact, when I was in 10th, 11th grade, I was drawn to Indian Army. I had applied for Indian Army, but I was rejected. But since then, I'm very serious about my physical fitness. So, do you see how many dots I had since my childhood? And I don't think it's an exception. We all have these dots, those uh, incomplete so-called careers we had, or fascinations during childhood. But we just get rid of them from our memory. It's very surprising. Until even I used to feel guilty. अरे मैंने लाइफ में सब अधूरा किया है, करता हूँ छोड़ता हूँ. Later on, I had three failed startups once I left my CA job. You know, until I met Steve Jobs through his biography, and he said that you always connect the dots backwards. You always connect the dots backwards, and those dots are scattered, and they don't connect automatically. You have to connect them, and that came to me as Akashvani, and things that I was ashamed of. Suddenly, that gave me a sense of pride. That wow, table tennis, painting, music, tabla, sports, and fitness, they all are actually my dots, and I have to connect them. Now see, the entire booklet app design is done by me. Why? Because of my painting skills. I know I've developed that sense of design, so that helped me. I add music to my audio summaries. Yeah, because I have a good sense of music. Had I not been fascinated about explaining stuff, I love to speak, I love to explain. I wouldn't have come out with audio summaries. I would have stopped at text summaries, right? So remember my girlfriend's suggestion, and then sportsman spirit is part of my blood now. Those failures in table tennis has taught me that failure is just an event, not a person. Yeah, we have to accept failure gracefully and move on and learn from those mistakes. Uh, and then uh, CA, of course, the knowledge of CA will never go waste. Although I'm an outdated chartered accountant, people assume that I know everything about finance and they don't dare to cheat me when it comes to money matters. Yeah, so of course, the knowledge of money will never go waste. I'm sure, in spite of three failed startups, I never went broke. There was no bankruptcy. Why? Because I know that the only risk in business is to cover the fixed cost, the fixed overheads. That's the only risk, not the variable cost. And so I kept my fixed cost at least minimum level. So you see how I connected all those dots, and gradually booklet guy was born. So I really request you to stop finding careers out there. Okay, I mean counseling is good, I don't deny, but then in the counseling you can reveal these things. Yeah, go dig deeper into your childhood inclinations, and I'm sure you will mix those skills to come out with a completely new career path.